We're live on Program TV. Hello, Jack. Do you have his audio up there? Do we hear you? Hello, Jack. We don't hear him. He's not there. Something went wrong. This isn't good. We had this issue with Kent Wolgamont a couple of weeks ago. And it's still not working. I guess we should have tested this. We've never had this issue before. See, I don't have you. Let's see. You're muted. Now you're unmuted. Yeah. I don't have you muted. It's not me. It's not me. It's you. Let's make sure it's not Nick's computer. He says his looks okay. Well, you want to give him a call, and then he can just show up on the phone. Sorry about that. Apparently, we've got a few issues. Well, while we're waiting for that, while you get Jack lined up. I'm still pouring through the result. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to do anything to get us in trouble. I know I promised I would give the numbers. Okay. All right. There you go. Yeah, they want to make sure everything's on the up and up in this, and the university, of course, is also involved. So they don't want to give away too much of the overall information. But I can tell you, yes, it was 115,000. Was just shy of 115,000, and then the numbers in order. I think we have Jack now on the Dunder Mifflin hotline via Program TV. Hello, Jack.
Okay, this is confused. We're still lined up though with our audio. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty cool. All right, so I'm about to unveil the final rankings. You never gave me an official prediction, did you?
No, I didn't.
You were going to try to mess up everything by buying all the seltzer out of the house. How did that experiment go?
I didn't ever buy. I only got one beer, and it was a Miller Lite. That's all they had available at the place that I went to. But I'm going to guess it went Bud Light. I'm trying to remember. Bud Light, Busch Light, Miller Lite, seltzer. What's the other one? Did I miss one?
By the way, I should mention this now. The original menu boards, the original menu boards that were up in the stadium did not show White Claw. They also had White Claw in the stadium. So that was something.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, the original, the tweets that went out last week that spurred this whole conversation. It was Michael Bruntz who tweeted out the screenshot of what the stadium menu boards were showing. Did not have White Claw in there. They did have White Claw in the stadium. Here it is.
I guess it's Bud, Busch, Miller, Ultra, then seltzer.
All right. We'll count up from 7 on back. Coming in 7th place was White Claw.
Yay.
Coming in 6th place, and this would explain why it was the only one left when you went to the beer stand, was Miller Lite.
Okay.
In 5th place was Coors Light.
Oh, I didn't even know they had that. All right.
In 4th place was the Strawberry Lemonade. That's a Bud Light seltzer, correct?
Yep.
The Bud Light Strawberry Lemonade seltzer was 4th. Coming in,
I bet we're going to go Ultra Busch Bud to finish it.
It's Bud Light 3rd, Mick Ultra 2nd, and Busch Light is your champion seller. I can't, because again, they want to be protective of the proprietary stuff, so I can't give you the percentages, but I can tell you that in order, the top 3 sellers were Busch Light, Mick Ultra, and Bud Light.
Well, they sold a lot of them because it looked like everybody had one. And that was the biggest thing, John, that my biggest takeaway was not any like level of, discord or anything that came from it. It was just how many people bought them at that price level. $10. I don't know. And I'm sure they didn't tell you this, but I'd be curious what the profit margin is on this. You can't, I'm guessing the cost when you buy them in bulk like that kind of a thing is probably, I don't know, 25-ounce can, $1.25 maybe. So you're getting at very least, you're getting $8 profit on each one of those that you sell. And only like everybody has one.
So now we can tell you the official, we can't give you the percentage, but we can, the total can count was around 115,000.
Okay. Well, if they made $8 per, that's $1 million in beer sales.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that's
$1 million profit.
Right. Yeah. And then of course you got to pay the vendors and whatnot. Right. And I don't, I don't know what the margins are. So you were quoting
conservative. I'm being okay.
You think that's conservative? Saying a buck or $2?
I did $2.
Okay,
$2. Yeah, I think that's conservative for that. What can I go buy a tall boy? I don't know, or not a tall boy, but a 25 ounce of Busch Light at the gas station for? It's not. Was it $2.50 maybe for a single?
Yeah,
I don't even know. It's not something that I do that often, but now maybe I will. I'll look at the gas station tonight and see what it is.
Yeah, I think you're about right. But also keep in mind though, Jack, that Busch Light is considered the bargain beer. It's more the budget beer. It's priced lower than Bud or Miller or Coors.
So probably made more profit on it.
So yeah, that theoretically you make more profit off of a Busch Light than you would a Bud Light or a Miller or a Coors.
Okay, but still, if you just for arguments,
sure,
for the purpose of argument, let's say that my number is, I think it's got to be in the ballpark. $2 times what you said. What did you say? Times
115,000.
Yeah. So you're $1 million. It's $1 million. That's $1 million in profit, and you wonder why schools are having such a hard time saying no. I don't know what kind of profit you make on popcorn in the stadium. I'm going to guess it's not $1 million. I don't know what kind of profit you make on Fairbury hot dogs, but I'm going to guess it's not $1 million.
Now, of course, we know that the audience is different from a Garth concert to a football game. Would it be fair to say that, this was a 25 to 54-year-old crowd?
Yeah, much younger crowd.
Yeah,
definitely much younger crowd.
So obviously you're not going to sell this many. You shouldn't anyway. I wouldn't think sell this many cans when you add in all the kids that will be at Nebraska games, all of the senior citizens that go to Nebraska games. But for this show, at least, I mean, they were averaging more than one can per person in the stadium if there were 80,000 people there.
It was a prime demographic for Busch Light drinking. I think that's fair to say. And I was there. So that's not casting any aspersions on anyone, but it was definitely a drinking 25 ounces of Busch Light crowd.
Which section were you in?
We were in the north end zone. So that was the side that the stage was closer to. So we were kind of in the center, probably 2/3 of the way up.
Now we're gonna read some of these later in the program because I've been getting some interesting correspondence from people who were there. What was you mentioned you went to your stand and Miller Lite was the only thing that they had. What was the overall experience? What did the lines look like? Because I'm hearing some wild stories about the masses of people that were surrounding the beer stands.
I wasn't even going to try and go to a concession stand during the whole thing. But I kind of had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the show, and I said, "Hey, do you want anything?" to my wife and my sister-in-law, and they really wanted waters. And so I was like, "Okay, that should be easy enough." So I get down, and we're in the North Stadium. So you go in that concourse, where that old clock is there, and I used the restroom, and then I came out and I looked at the lines for the concession stands, and they were massive. I mean, every row was 30 people deep, maybe. I'm gonna guess. But then I saw Morgan. I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to find somebody selling water one-off. Maybe there's somebody there." I didn't find that right away, but there was a beer stand that there was nobody in line for. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'll get a beer while I'm here." I hadn't got one, and there's no wait at all. And it was the one that had run out of everything but Miller Lite. Then I went upstairs. They have one of those little refrigerators that they just pack with water, and it's a water stand. I'm telling you, 40 people in line. And people were buying them out of water. They were buying, and then all of a sudden, so I waited there 15 minutes. The guy in front of me was like, "Save my spot. I'm going to go ask if they're getting more water." And there were these two girls I felt terrible for who were working at the stand. They didn't know. They said, we're calling them to bring more water. And then somebody walks with some water. I'm about 12th in line. And somebody said, like, fairly quietly, they said, hey, there's a kid over there with selling them, one of the hawkers selling them. And I didn't make a big deal. I just kind of stepped out, walked over to him. And sure enough, there he was standing there with a crate of them. And I said, give me 3 of those, keep the dollar change. And then I walked back across the line where everybody had been waiting. And so the water for me was the hardest thing to actually get during the concert.
Well, yeah, because, you drunk yourself silly tailgating, and so you definitely needed to hydrate by that point. But.
Well, I think there's probably a lot of people where that was the case. And it was warm. It was warm at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
It was beautiful as you got a little bit later.
So overall, an experience like this, would you, and again, you can only go off what you've seen, what you went by, and I'm hearing different stories from different folks, but overall, was it as good as you expected it to be, or was it a great experience?
It was better than I expected it to be,
really?
I would say. The whole experience was better. Now, here's the caveat. I'm not a huge country music fan, although, like everybody, if you were around, for people who are younger than us, John, it's hard to explain, but Garth Brooks went mainstream in the mid-'90s in a way that basically no country artist.
That is true.
Taylor Swift. Maybe Taylor Swift has, but that Garth Brooks was so mainstream among non-country fans in the 90s that I know all of these songs. Like, you paid me, I probably know 3 or 4 Kenny Chesney songs, but Garth Brooks, I knew every song that he played for the most part because he went so mainstream. But I'm not a huge country fan beyond that. I'd always wanted to see him live, and I got a chance to do that at Pinnacle Bank Arena. So I just seen him 3 years prior or so when he was there. And we hadn't planned on going, but my brother and sister-in-law from Iowa said they kind of wanted to come up and see it. They had never seen him. And I said, well, that's fine. That sounds fun. The unique chance to see it in the stadium. By the time it actually came around that night with COVID numbers going up, I worked on my deck the entire day. I was like, in my head, I was like, I really would like to sit on a couch and watch preseason football tonight. That's really what I wanted to do. But I'll tell you what, when I came up out of the tunnel to see that North Stadium and to see that whole thing completely filled again. First of all, I just hadn't seen that at Memorial Stadium, so that was almost an emotional moment. But just the size of the stage and sort of the grandeur of that whole thing. And then when they got going, it was just so well done from a technical perspective, from a sound perspective, from a lighting perspective, from a live video editing. When you have a concert in the round like that, John, you kind of keep your eyes up on the video screen. It's like when we went to that game in the Jerry Dome, right?
Yeah.
You try and that's what you end up doing. But they did such a good job with all of that, the effects, the lighting, everything. And he is country fan or not, he is unbelievable. He is a veteran expert at keeping a crowd engaged, having a crowd have fun, making a crowd think this is the best night of his entire life. And he had everyone hook, line, and sinker on that. And that made for a wild crowd and a fun crowd to be around. So it exceeded. Honestly, if you had asked me before the show, you know what, you cannot go, somebody else will go, I would have said, yeah, that's fine. But I'm really glad I went. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I saw you tweeting about it earlier today, just wondering aloud, what other acts could do this. One of the reasons why Garth works in these types of settings is because of that entertainment factor. You don't have to be a country fan. Right. You don't have to be a Garth fan to appreciate the entertainment value. It's we joke about it a lot when it comes to Springsteen and sports writers, but part of the appeal of Springsteen is the show, is the performance, and Garth's one of the top performers of all time. He just knows how to be appealing to a massive audience. But when you think about other acts that could do this, because I have to imagine with the success that happened, and I'm not hearing a ton of like nightmare episodes that happened. So there's always going to be incidents that happen. You have 80,000 people. There's incidents that happen at Husker football games all the time. They just don't get publicized. I have to think overall for the university, for the city, for the athletic department, for the facilities,
for the police,
that this was this was a great success, and this would be something they would like to do again. But what other acts could do this? And obviously you threw out U2. They could do it. You mentioned Taylor Swift earlier. She could probably do it. I don't think, does Springsteen even tour anymore? I think he does.
I don't know. So I brought this up with Kent Walgamot I had on my show this morning, and I posed him the question, how many acts even exist? And it's not just can draw 90,000, but it's number one, an act that plays stadium shows, because you can't just go from playing 25,000 person arena shows and all of a sudden play your first stadium show.
Right. You got to have the production.
You got to have the production. You got to be a veteran of it. So that's number one. Number two, would draw enough to make it worthwhile. So I'm thinking draw 70,000 ish. And then number three, has a reason to come, because you can already do these in Kansas City and Chicago. And there's a lot of acts that just aren't going to go to Lincoln because they can go to those places already and they don't do a ton of those shows. And I don't know. I think Taylor Swift is the most obvious one for Lincoln. I think country is going to always do well in this part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think that always will. If you're talking country, from what El Kent told me, and this isn't based on my own knowledge, he also says Kenny Chesney does these shows, and I think they bring maybe some more people out for those shows. He said that was a possibility. You go beyond country, though, and then you're concerned about some of those other issues that you talked about, bands that do those kinds of shows. U2 is the next one that I think of that I think could get that kind of a turnout of people.
Right.
I don't know. But you're pretty quickly after that, one of those three things I listed, almost anybody you bring up would be an issue. You know, could the Eagles do it? Could the Eagles do it? Could the Rolling Stones?
See, I don't know if the Eagles could do it. I mean, the Eagles are going to be playing here in Omaha in the next few weeks, and there's hardly any of the original band that's left. Rolling Stones would be one. People are going to think I'm being totally parochial when I say this. I think AC/DC could do it. They've done a lot of stadium shows.
But could they get?
Could they get the crowd? I think they could get the crowd here in Nebraska. I do, because it depends. You know, again, it's one of those deals where you're not doing 50 of these stadium shows. What AC/DC did a few years ago was they picked about a dozen stadium shows. They did Wrigley, they did the Patriots Stadium. If Nebraska was chosen as one of like 12, you would get a lot of folks from Kansas City, where the region that would come in for something like that. So I think they could do it.
And then you think of bands that have done the stadium shows before. The question is, would they come to Lincoln? Would Pearl Jam come to Lincoln, right? When they can do a stadium show, when they could do Kansas City and Chicago and other big cities. Could Jimmy Buffett do? I don't know if Jimmy Buffett would draw that much. Would Foo Fighters draw that much? My son insists that he thinks Drake.
Nick, you don't have your camera on right now. Nick was shaking his head when you said Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters absolutely would draw. They would pull so hard.
70,000?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, for sure they would. There's a lot of people around here who, especially the guys who are more geared toward classic rock, like the John Bishops, they like Foo Fighters.
You wouldn't catch me dead at any of these types of concerts.
The Foo Fighters resonate with a lot of people.
It has nothing to do with the act. I'm just not a huge concert goer.
And then other types of places that play, they go to Red Rocks, though, like Dave Matthews Band. But again, could they draw? Do they have the draw to get 70,000? They're set up to do stadium shows. They do those stadium shows, but I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of. The fact that we have such a hard time. Elton John could draw, but he's not set up to do stadium shows. He's also coming to here in April.
That's true.
So, we're talking Taylor Swift. We're talking probably some other country artists, or a country, or maybe you group together big rock bands. That's the other thing.
Yeah, you do a big festival.
Def Leppard and Journey, and
obviously Farm Aid worked here many years ago.
That's the other. That's to me the other thing. But you can't, this will wear out its welcome if you would do it every 6 months.
Oh yeah, this is probably a once every
multi-year.
Yeah, maybe a once every 10-year thing.
Yeah,
is that too long?
I was gonna say a little less than that, and then who knows what the concert scene looks like in 10 years. And so I don't know about that.
I'm going to guess that
it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that you bought more bottles of water than you saw masks in the crowd.
I bought I bought 3 bottles of water, and our group, for what it's worth, we did once we got into the crowds walking the stadium. We decided that we were going to wear masks. There were a few. They asked me to estimate it on the show this morning. It's hard to do. I want to say 3 to 5%, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 3 to 5% would be my guess. There was
more than I saw in Knoxville. I'll put it that way, because I saw 3 to 5 people.
Yeah, you saw an occasional person here and there. So, and that was a little bit of a hard. I mean, that was part of the reason I was kind of hesitant about the whole thing as well. It's just, what's the right thing to do with all of this? We bought the $95 tickets. Could have got in the stadium for $8 had I waited. But,
yeah.
But we went through it. We talked about it. We decided to go forward, and I hope there's hey, one of the most interesting things, John, maybe you saw this on Twitter, the very end of the show. Now, this I did not expect from this show. Trisha Yearwood comes out and she does some duets with him, and they sang the song from A Star Is Born, the Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper, Shallow song. They did a duet. It was really good. All of a sudden, I'm kind of listening. I'm like, man, this is a good cover. This is good. I smell something. I was like, now that's not something I've smelled in a while. That's not something that's that kind of burnt, messed up popcorn, woody, oaky smell.
Do you think Nebraska was practicing and one of the defensive backs got torched by Omar Manning?
No. And I was like, I turned to my wife. It's like at a Garth Bush concert, somebody's smoking weed, and she's like, yeah, he's right behind you. And I turn around, and the dude is right behind me, just taking a. You got a fat J there, just billowing smoke. I was like, no wonder I could smell it so strongly. And I thought it was just hilarious. He's been at this 2.5-hour Garth Brooks concert, and he gets to the Trisha Yearwood, which we all knew was about the last song of the show. And that's the time. He's like, I can't wait anymore. It's time to enjoy the Garth and Trisha duet.
But that may have been history. The first ever joint lit up in Memorial Stadium in the crowd.
That's a good question.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not. But remember, there's not been smoking allowed in the stadium forever. And I got to imagine be a lot of folks, if they saw someone lighting up a J during a Husker game, they would probably turn him in. But because this was a different audience.
Oh, the people around were mad.
Were they?
I mean, yeah. Oh, there were a few. Oh, yeah. In fact, I saw after we left after the next song, because I have a theory that if you leave before the last song of a concert, you buy yourself over an hour of time. And so he busted into what we believed to be the last song. And I saw that there was, looked like a state trooper coming up the stairs. So I don't know if somebody did the text thing to rat him out or what, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was minding my own. I was just enjoying the contact high, I guess.
Well, your friend in low places was sitting one row behind you.
I got friend in low places where the weed now just doesn't.
Was there now for those who weren't there? Was there I'm sure Garth probably gave numerous shout outs to Lincoln or Huskers or whatnot. Were there any other obvious references to Nebraska? He didn't break into there is no place like Nebraska, did he?
No, he didn't. He let's see, what did he do? He brought up one of his manager or his road crew who goes around and listens to all parts of the stadiums to make sure all the sound is good. He's basically a sound tech, and he's from Grand Island. He brought him up to the stage, and he was wearing a Scott Frost jersey, and he was throwing hats, and that guy got a huge roar of applause.
Are you sure it wasn't a Reggie Ball jersey?
No, it said Frost on the back.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
Because I was like, is that an Andre McDuffie jersey? That is so random. Yeah, I'll go deeper than you in this game.
Oh, I know. I'm not. Hey, listen, I'm gonna. My knowledge goes about to Ricky Simmons. I think Ricky Simmons might be the best, the deepest 7 cut I could come up with it on the top of my head.
Don't talk about Andre McDuffie that much in the history of Nebraska running backs. It's odd. Anyway,
I wonder why. Yeah.
And then they also had a kid who was a senior. They apparently did a sound check where the college kids could go watch. And one of the kids asked a question about the sound engineering or something. And they, on the spot, I guess, said, you know what, we're going to hire you for the night so you can see it in person. And so they brought this senior out who was the sound engineer, and he was wearing Husker stuff, and he got a big applause. I'm trying to think. I don't think there were any, other than that, any real, he pointed at the national championships and said something about that, the inscriptions on the press box.
and said, "Hey, the last time you guys won one of these, I had a #1 hit."
It's true. I was in his heyday.
Garth's heyday was in Nebraska's heyday. Well, hey, now that he's selling out Memorial Stadium, maybe Nebraska will be back because of all of this.
Back. Yeah, that's the other thing. Lincoln and Nebraska loves their country music, and they love their 1990s, and so this one fit the bill exactly.
Oh, it hit all the feels. It hit all the feels.
These are all the songs they were listening to while they were watching Tommy Frazier tear up defenses. They were listening to the dance and standing outside the fire in low places and all those songs.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good time, and you had a chance to get a little high at the end, and and now in 12 days we can come down from that high because it'll be game 1.
Yes, that will be good. It'll be interesting to see, John, what the numbers do in Lincoln, what the authorities say, if there is a real impact of this, because how do you respond? How are they going to respond if 2 weeks from now, which still won't be a home game then, right? You'll be at
we're 3 weeks out from the first home game.
Yeah, so that's about when you start seeing something. What if you see the numbers plateau and the health department says contact tracing is showing that a lot of it happened there at that place?
But then I guess my question on all that, because now this was obviously big, but we went through a weekend where we had a ton of NFL games that I don't think any of the NFL preseason games had 80,000 people, but still north of 40,000 people at most of these games. I was just at a place, where they sold out 21,000. We've seen Major League Baseball, they're continuing on. We haven't seen any, we haven't seen any of that. So I do wonder if we might be looking a little too much into this. Who knows at this point?
Right. But it's just at some point, somebody's going to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know who it'll be, but at some point, and then, what dominoes fall from there. Hopefully nothing, but it's just hard not to kind of gird for that right now.
No, that is true. True indeed. All right. Well, hey, think about it. Next week, you get to help kick off game week.
That's awesome. I can't wait. All our game week stuff. I got to get ready. I listen to different podcasts during game weeks. I do my predictions. We start our tailgate show on Fridays in Lincoln. And so I got to get it's a whole different routine. And we had the first day of school here in Lincoln, John. And what a delight. What a delight.
Oh, I know you're thrilled. I know you're thrilled. Christian doesn't start till tomorrow, but believe me,
my son didn't, but just the ability to have a routine every week is different in the summer. I get excited when summer is here, and by the time summer's over, it's like, man, I can't wait for that school year. The routine is amazing. I was tweeting you during the show today because I was listening. I was waiting for my daughter. So I'm going to be listening to you guys a lot more now.
All right. Well, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week and have fun. Did you at least save that Miller Lite can so you can put it up in your display and say, this is the first legal beer I ever drank in Memorial Stadium?
Yes, John, I took an open container of a 25-ounce Miller Lite and put it in my cup holder while I drove home. No, I didn't.
Listen, based on people, I've been hearing from folks saying there were open containers all over the place in downtown Lincoln. It looked like Vegas on fight night.
Well, you can't bring an empty beer can in the car with you. That's illegal. And I did, and I also didn't even think of that. So, to be honest,
that's too bad.
It was not that momentous of an occasion for me.
All right. Well, perfect. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Game week.
Woo!
We're there. Jack Mitchell. Obviously, it was nice that the video and the audio meshed up with the whole phone thing, but hopefully he gets the whole podcast thing.
Yeah. I'll see if it was on my end. We'll figure it out.
All right. No. If it wasn't, then
I don't think it was.
If it wasn't, then I'll blame Nick. Nick.
That's fine.
Grim on the Grum. He's from Iowa, after all.
No wonder.
All right, there he is. Jack Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen, joining us as he does every Monday here on the program. Ben says that the beers were $16 at Arrowhead. So $10 in Lincoln wasn't that big a deal.
Why are they so expensive at Arrowhead?
Because it's Kansas City and it's a pro town, and they're used to paying big prices, premium prices for alcohol at their events.
I don't like that they're charging as much as they want for beer just because they know people are going to want beer at an event.
That's what they do.
That's taking advantage of people.
Have you ever been in an airport?
Yes.
Yeah, they take advantage of people.
I don't shop at an airport.
Anywhere you go, any sporting event you go to, you're always going to pay more than you pay elsewhere. Though I will say this, the beers in Knoxville were $3.
It's because you were in Iowa, John.
You're damn right.
You're welcome.
Yes. They love their Busch Light there too as well. Went through a lot of it. All right, more coming up. Steve Sipple is going to join us next hour. We've got some Eric Chenander audio. We'll get back to what we were talking about regarding Nebraska and its offense and what they may need to do in their downhill running game. That's all coming up right here on Sportsmanlike Conduct in 1620 The Zone. A reminder that Omaha's Guns and Hoses boxing event is coming up Saturday night, September the 11th, 7 p.m. at Ralston Arena. It's put on by the Professional Firefighters Association of Omaha and Omaha's Police Officers Association. It's a once-a-year rivalry, raising money for local charities. That's Guns and Hoses, Saturday, September 11th, 7 p.m., Ralston Arena.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart.
Heather's moment has arrived, and you just hope all that training pays off.